Hey everybody, thanks for coming back. In our last video, we were able to add some JavaScript, a background video, a custom audio element, so we can link everything up, make our site a little more lively. And now we just want to make sure we have a smooth transition into our main page. So we're gonna do a custom loading screen animation like the one you see here. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, then stick around, let's do it. Okay, so back in here we have our set sail, and last time we set up our video and audio to play. But you see how it just kind of flashes onto the screen like that? Not ideal. So we're gonna go back and we're gonna add a nice loading screen to take care of that ugly jump. So in our body, we're going to add a new div element. Let's just call this guy loading screen. All right, so let's set some properties on this bad boy. Let's give it a position of fixed center. So what that's going to do is fixed, it's going to stay in the same spot essentially. So remember our other elements are absolute, so they're pushed to the top there. If it's fixed, even when the user would be scrolling, sometimes people have a fixed navigation bar. So when someone scrolls down a website, the nav always follows them with their scroll. This is just going to have a 100% viewport. It's just going to cover everything, and there's nowhere to scroll, so nothing will be affected by that. So we have our position fixed, and we're just going to set the cover mode to full on the end there. That just makes sure it takes up the whole screen. So let's give this also a background color, just so we can see what we're working with here. I'm going to give it something dark and kind of oceany, like our theme was 071A25. Great, nice dramatic deep blue. Okay, and now in our loading screen, I'm gonna add two things. First thing I'm gonna do is add a Lottie animation. Guys, if you're not familiar with Lottie animations, go to lottie.com or whatever the site is. I'll link it below, but it's just really cool animations that a lot of users and designers create for free, and they are transparent animations of all different kinds that you can put into your websites or whatever sort of projects you're working on. And they are so helpful and add a lot of great life, and they really make it look more professional and cool. So, and you can use them for cool things like this. So I'm going to replace our Lottie sequence right now. So I already uploaded a file here. It's just this little kind of blue wave animation. I thought that was appropriate for the ocean. So I'm going to click this, and let's see, with our Lottie selected, it will be inside of our loading screen. I'm going to name this Lottie animation. Shocker, I know. Lottie animation. I'm going to give it a height here of, let's see, where's my height? I'm going to make this 50 VH. And that way it takes up 50% of the viewport. And I'm going to go to the settings right here, because if we preview it, it looks cool, but it only goes once. And we definitely want it to do more than that. So in our settings, we can just click right here, loop. And you can also change the timing, the duration. If you think it's playing too slow, you can add things up. You can play it backwards. But we want to play in a loop because loading, it's going to keep kind of dripping and dripping until our page loads. It's already looking a little bit better. All right, so we've got our Lottie animation there taking up 50% of the viewport height, but we also need to add another element. So we're going to go back to our loading screen. Going to add a heading. It could be an H1 because there's nothing else on the screen, so it doesn't matter the hierarchy here. I'm going to call this loading text, and I'm going to put the word, you guessed it, loading in the text. I can change the color of this to be white so it pops out nice. I can center this guy. Let me change the font. I can use that bad script that we use on the home page. It looks a little condensed, so let's go to more type options. I can add letter spacing, maybe 5, maybe 4, maybe 3. 4 is pretty good. Great. So when we preview, not bad. So something else we can do to make it look a little more cool, stylized. Click on our loading text. We're going to add a little interaction to this guy. We're going to do a page trigger. So on page load, I'm going to add a new animation. Let's call it loading pulse. Oops. Pulse. Great. And I'm going to click on the text, and I'm going to click plus. I'm going to add something about opacity. And let's have the initial state be 100%, because we want to see it when it first loads, right? And let's say we add another opacity. Yeah, this looks good. And we'll do 0. Actually, no, we'll do 50%. So it should go to 100 to 50. Great. All right, and then we can add one more. Oops, not filter. We want to add another opacity. Let's make it 100. So it's going to go from 100 to 50 to 100. Great. Doesn't look like much right now, obviously, but if we save that, and now if we click this little thing here, make sure it says loop, and we're highlighted on our loading pulse, we preview it again, it'll keep cycling through those simple 3 interactions. So it's just going through the opacity, 50 to 100, 50 to 100, but it kind of gives it that pulsing sensation that looks like the page is actually loading. Great, so now we've got the Lottie animation above it, and we've got the loading text. It's coming together. Okay, so the next thing we can do with our loading screen is tell it how to behave coming in and out of our browser. So, all right, so with our loading screen selected, we can add a new page trigger. Let's do on page load an action. Start animation. Let's do loading screen in, we'll call it. And it's going to be pretty simple. We're just going to do hide and show. So its initial state, we want it to be displayed block as it is now. And then after a certain amount of time, we're going to click hide and show again, and we're going to display none. So that way, when it disappears, we can see the video beneath it. So when we feel it's an appropriate amount of time, we can tell it to fade away. So let's do, let's say like 3.5 second delay. So after 3.5 seconds, it'll fade away. We'll see if that's enough. You can also add some opacity as well, just to make sure it fades. So opacity, we'll make this part of the initial state, right? It's 100. And then by the time it fades away, we'll add another opacity. We can actually move our opacity to occur before the hide and show. That way it'll fade out to a black and then disappear, and we won't see the stark disappearing. So let's see, we can lower this because this is a little long. So let's make this like 2 seconds, and then this can be 2.5 seconds. So let's play this again and see. Can't see the Lottie, but that looked okay. All right, so if we preview this, we've got our Lottie, we've got the pulsing, we've also got some like spooky ghost thing happening behind there. I think that'll go away once we publish. And then our video starts. So, okay, let's see here. We can publish. And let's go back to our home page so we can see our button in action. And set sail. So a page loads. First thing we're going to see is our loading screen. 2.5 seconds. Make sure it doesn't show that quick jump into the video. Great, so it's just kind of that little buffer in between, and it'll disappear after we tell it, and then by then the video is already loaded, which means it triggers the audio as well, so looking pretty good. And that's how we make our little loading animation screen. Not too hard, right? And you can customize that any way you want, really. This is literally 2 elements, you guys. We had our Lottie animation and we had our text. So you can get more creative, add more things to it if you want, but for now I think that's a good kind of simple in between. Next video we're going to do some more cool things, so stick around if you want to see how we're going to build out our title cards and our little 3D rotation animations. We got a lot of good stuff in store, so stick around if you want to see more.